The NFL game revolves around the quarterback position. Nearly 70% of all Super Bowls have been won by quarterbacks who either are or will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Here are the 5 best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. At number 1, no surprises here, Tom Brady. All conversations about the best quarterback in NFL history start and end with a man literally nicknamed the GOAT. Brady didn't look like he was going to be the greatest quarterback to ever play the game when he was drafted in the 6th round of the 2000 NFL draft. He was considered by many NFL scouts lucky to be a backup, too unathletic to be an elite quarterback, but he didn't believe that. The first time he introduced himself to Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Brady told him, "I'm the best decision this organization has ever made." Over the next 23 years, Brady would prove that and have arguably the best career of any professional athlete, not just in his generation, but maybe of all time. 7 Super Bowl championships, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 regular season MVPs, 15 Pro Bowl selections. Brady has headlined not 1 but 2 all-decade teams. He holds 17 different NFL records, including every major quarterback record. Most passing yards, Brady. Touchdowns, Brady. Completions, Brady. Wins, also Brady. And that's in both the regular season and the postseason. His 7 Super Bowl titles are more than any single NFL franchise, and he has more career playoff wins than all but 5 NFL franchises. You can argue every single name on this list, but you can't argue the top one. Tom Brady stands alone. At number 2, we've got Joe Montana. Before Tom Brady cemented himself as the GOAT, Joe Montana was the standard that all quarterbacks were held to. While many credit Bill Walsh for creating the West Coast offense, Joe Montana is the man that made it work decades before the rest of the NFL caught on. As a starter, Montana made 4 trips to the Super Bowl, came away with 4 championships, which puts him in a class almost by himself from an accolades perspective. Montana's postseason run from 1988 to 1990, which almost included a three-peat of championships for the 49ers, saw him post a 100-plus passer rating in 8 straight playoff games. In those games, he was nearly perfect, throwing 22 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Montana still holds the record for the best career Super Bowl passer rating at 127.8, as well as the most Super Bowl pass attempts without throwing an interception at 122. At the time of his retirement, he owned NFL records for playoff attempts, completions, touchdowns, and yards gained, and was 4th in career passing yards, attempts, and touchdowns. Montana's career passing records likely won't stand the test of time, but what will is that when the games mattered most, Joe Montana delivered almost every time. At number 3, we've got Peyton Manning. Now, unlike the first 2 members of this list, Peyton Manning was expected to be great. He was drafted number 1 overall in the 1998 draft, and he absolutely lived up to those expectations. Manning holds the record with 5 MVP trophies, 7 first-team All-Pro honors, and went to the Pro Bowl in 14 of his 17 seasons in the NFL. But Manning's accolades don't stop there. He broke the all-time record for career touchdown passes, passing yards, wins, playoff appearances, 4,000-yard seasons, game-winning drives, single-season passing yards, and single-season passing touchdowns while he was in the NFL. Manning went to 4 Super Bowls, won 2 of them, but perhaps most impressively did it with 4 different coaches. The man never had the same coach each time he went to the Super Bowl, but the only real knock on Manning's resume is while he did have a ton of success in the postseason, his 14-13 record doesn't compare to his career 70% winning percentage in the regular season. Now, despite that blemish, Manning is still one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen. At number 4, we've got John Elway. Now, when you think of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, John Elway isn't the first guy that comes to mind. or the second or really the third, but he's one of only 13 quarterbacks ever to rush for over 3,000 yards in his career. He's also the only quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 3,000 yards and rush for over 200 yards 7 years in a row. Now, as a passer, he held his own. At the time of his retirement, he ranked second all-time in passing yards, attempts, and completions, and his 40 game-winning drives still ranks 9th all-time. Now, 5 Super Bowl appearances rank second all-time as well, behind only Tom Brady. Some would argue that Elway was carried to his 2 Super Bowl victories by Hall of Fame running back Terrell Davis, but in Elway's 16-year career, he accounted for 82% of the total points scored by the Broncos in those 16 seasons. While there are certainly other quarterbacks who have a case to be number 4 on this list, Elway's combination of postseason success, versatility, clutch performances, and overall resume puts him just slightly above the competition. Finally, at number 5, we've got Patrick Mahomes. Now, this is where lists like this can become challenging. Some people would argue that Mahomes has not done enough to justify putting him on this list. I'd argue that those people are in complete denial of the greatness that is Patrick Mahomes. In 7 seasons, Mahomes has done more than enough to justify putting him on this list. He has 3 Super Bowl victories, which puts him tied for 3rd most all time, combined with the fact that he was the MVP of all 3, which is tied with Joe Montana for the 2nd most all time, second only to Tom Brady's 5. And you're already talking about elite postseason production from Mahomes. Mahomes trails only those 2 men in playoff victories with 15, and likely will pass Joe Montana's 16 in the next year or 2. He's 3-1 when trailing by more than 10 points in a Super Bowl. All other quarterbacks combined are 4-48 in that situation. He's the only player in NFL history to win 2 MVPs and 3 Super Bowls before turning 30, but those are just playoff stats. I get that's the argument. He's great in the playoffs. We know that. That's fair. But when you consider that Mahomes is the only quarterback in NFL history to have a winning record when trailing by double digits at any point in the game, you realize that the greatness is already here. He's currently the all-time leader in passing yards per game by 16 yards. He's 7th in passing yards per attempt, 2nd in passes completed per game, 9th in pass completion percentage and touchdown percentage. The evidence is overwhelming for Mahomes not only to be on this list, but that he probably should be even higher. And the terrifying thing is that he may not even be halfway done with his NFL career. Now it's your turn. Let us hear your top 5 quarterbacks of all time in the comments down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more videos like this. We'll see you guys next time.